Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, the Disability Podcast. Here, we will learn to advocate for ourselves and each other. This podcast is supported with funds from the Advocado Press, based in Louisville, Kentucky.
Welcome to Demand and Disrupt, a disability podcast. I'm Lisa McKinley.
And I'm Kimberly Parsley.
Hey, Kimberly, how is it going today?
It is going very well. It's hot. Summer's doing what summer does in Kentucky. It's you look at the temperature and it says that it's 87 and you're like, no. It's 115 at least, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's so hot.
Yep. So we're doing that and trying to get the kids, it's almost back to school time, which they're in complete denial about. And I get it. So that kind of thing. How about you? What's going on with you?
Yeah, just getting ready for school to start, doing the whole massage school thing. We just started clinics, so I'm having lots of interesting people come in for massage, so that's fun.
That's exciting. How's that going?
That's going well. I didn't know how it would go at first, but I kind of like it. I kind of get in this zone and it kind of relaxes me, and it's just nice. I didn't know what to expect, but it's turning out to be really nice.
Wonderful.
So, Kimberly, I had this weird thing happen at massage school actually. And it got me thinking about how I have this need sometimes. I feel like I want to hide my blindness, but at the same time, I want to own my differences. And I kind of ran into a situation. I had a new client come in and I walked her to the exam room. And first thing I do, I close the door. And then I ask the client, is there anything specific you'd like to address today? And so I ask, and she replies, but her voice is coming from the complete opposite side of the room. I am basically talking to the wall, and I'm mortified. So, of course, I correct and I turn around and I face her and continue the whole intake process, which it goes fine. And she was gracious and she didn't make a big deal about it or anything. And it just got me thinking, how we want to project ourselves a certain way, but at the same time, we need to own our differences. Like, have you ever had that kind of experience?
I think I would say that's my life. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you always want to appear not blind. And I don't necessarily think it's because I'm ashamed of being blind or anything like that. I think it's almost for me, this desire to always put people at ease, and I know if I say I'm blind, they're going to be uncomfortable. But I mean, these things happen. Like someone came in the office and they needed me to sign for something, a delivery or something. And I'm like, well, okay, this has got to, they got to know, right? So he's handed me something. Obviously, I can tell. And I'm like, I'm blind. So can you? He goes, oh, I'm sorry, right here. And he's telling me, and I know there are people who experience like harassment, not just discrimination, but harassment because of their disability. Like, oh, you're faking it. People will say that to people. I hear that happens and the name calling. But luckily for me, every time people find out that I'm blind and I need some assistance, I have never experienced anything but people being absolutely gracious about it. Have you?
No, yeah, everyone. I've never really experienced any kind of discrimination or hatred or anybody mocking me or anything like that. I mean, maybe other than school. I mean, kids are just mean. I mean,
kids are jerks. Yeah,
kids are jerks. So, but for my adult life, no. Like, I found anytime I ask for anything, people are always willing to offer assistance. But I think it's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to ask for help if we can avoid it. At least that's how it is with me. I want to look professional in charge and command of the situation. And sometimes it's just not possible. Sometimes I'm just talking to a wall.
Yeah, yeah. And while you're doing your thing, you're new at massage school, so you're doing it, so you're trying to you're just learning. So you're learning your intake, you're learning your thing, and you're trying to get the information. But I like for me, all the time, there's this thing in my mind is always, don't look blind. Don't look blind. Don't.
Exactly.
And it is stressful. And I again, it's not really a shame thing. I think it's like every time you meet someone, you want to put your best foot forward, right? And I feel like, and I shouldn't feel like this, but I feel like the blindness is not me putting my best foot forward, even though it is a critical part of who I am. And I don't know, what do we do about that? How do we overcome that?
I think for me is if I can get into that zone where I am feeling confident and portraying confidence, I think I could straight up run into a wall. But if I owned it and was confident about it, people feel at ease. Like you had mentioned, really, you just want to put people at ease at the, you know, and but if I am stuttering and being shy and timid, and that's when the blindness really, I think, makes people feel uncomfortable. But I've noticed when I own the blindness and the things that come along with it, then I find that people are more at ease. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
Yeah, I think so. Like there was a person who came in the office the other day, and I was having to show her around the office. And I use, because I have, balance problems, I use a stability cane. I mean, it's a white cane, a blind person cane, but it's like got a stability handle on it. And I just said, I mean, I just said to her, I'm blind and I have balance problems. So, I'm going to show you around, but, go ahead and go around me and go in there, or whatever. And she knew right up front what she was dealing with. And I think it made the entire I think it made the entire thing more comfortable for everybody. And because I had been open with it, she had she felt like she could ask questions. Like she was like, "So are you okay here when you're by yourself?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." So I think it allowed for a deeper give and take. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I guess it's that cognitive dissonance about wanting to hide it in some way to look more confident, but then owning it. And that's the thing that actually makes you look confident at the end of the day. I don't know. It it really is this tug of war I find inside of myself a lot.
Yeah, and one of the ways that I overcompensate for the blindness is to use the big words, be very professional sounding. Competence is just my jam. Like I want to be seen as completely competent, and so I will be professional and straightforward. But when you're talking to a wall and you realize that it
Oh, it was so humiliating in that moment.
you should not feel humiliated. Oh, you poor thing. But I get it, and I would have. I mean, I do
No
get it.
one wants to talk to a wall.
No, they don't. But we've all been there, and I think other people with other disabilities have similar situations. And God, to our listeners, I want to know what those are. So if you're listening, I want you to email us because I want to know about these things. We talk a lot about disability from the blind perspective, and I don't want people to think that we're leaving out other disabilities. We want to hear from you. So am I begging? Yeah, I'm begging. So
Yes, I
please
want to know
write
what
us.
happens when you roll your wheelchair through mud and then you have to go onto nice carpeting. And like, how does that make you feel? Like, how do you work around that? I want to know these things that would have never crossed my mind. Just like I'm sure these things we're talking about now would have never crossed a lot of people's minds. Like, we just want to know these things because
We do. We want to know, and I mean, we want to talk to you. We'll read the email out loud, or I'll give you a call. Whatever. We want to dialogue. That's what we love here. So Send us an email with your story. You can may leave a voice note on your phone and attach it, or you could just write the email, whatever, or say, Kimberly or Lisa, whatever, I had a similar story. Give me a call and I'll tell you about it. That's fine too. Whatever way is best for you, send an email to demand and disrupt, all one word, demand and disrupt at gmail.com. And we want to hear from you and start a dialogue about this kind of thing because, I want to feel other people. I want to know that other people have embarrassing stories, don't you?
Yes, I want to know other people's embarrassing stories, and I want to hear all the other great interviews you are conducting, and you've you've got a really cool
I,
one coming up. Tell me about who
I
we're talking to today.
I'm so excited for this interview. I have been excited since there was a rule change to Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Big deal. Section 504. It does so many things. It protects parents' rights from losing custody based on their disability. If you're sick and in the hospital, it protects your rights from like doctors making a judgment about the value of your life versus the value of someone else's life. There's even a thing in one of these rule changes about accessibility for websites. That's a big deal. So I'm so excited. And I interviewed Justin Jeter. He is so smart. I mean, he is like scary smart, let me tell you. He's the nicest guy. He was just wonderful, wonderfully nice. But man, he's got a brain, let me tell you what. He is so smart. And he is the public policy coordinator for the Commonwealth Council on Developmental Disabilities. And man, they are a great, great, great organization. They do so much. So I'm so excited to have gotten to talk to him and to let listeners hear this interview. And Lisa, you haven't heard this interview yet, have you?
I haven't, and I'm really excited to listen to it because you do such a great job on, talking to people about new policy changes and things we'd like to have to be policy changes. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
It was great. It was great to get to talk to a fellow policy wonk. It was wonderful. So you're in for a treat, everyone. Here is my interview with Justin Jeter, Public Policy Coordinator for the Commonwealth Council on Developmental Disabilities. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you.
So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and about CCDD?
Yeah, of course. So I am Justin Jeter, and I really love policy and government. I lived in Louisville and Nashville. I went to school for business, realized I like government, and went to grad school for it. Through my wife, I met Ava. She is my sister-in-law, and she has Down syndrome. And it really got me interested in how the systems of state policy just don't help people with disabilities like they should. It also helped me recognize the good things. Medicaid waivers really, really have made a difference in her life. But in my role at the Council on Developmental Disabilities as the public policy coordinator, I study government, I study policy, I educate people in the community, advocates, legislators about the issues that affect people with disabilities. And the council itself, there are about 56 of us. We are in every state and territory. And the council's role is to advocate for capacity building, systems change, and self-advocacy for it and with and by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We fund innovative small projects to try out new things in areas like supported decision-making, which is guardianship alternatives, housing, employment, self-advocacy networks. We really touch on a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You all stay very busy over there at the council, don't you?
It varies month by month, but yeah, we do. We reach the entire state. Our council is made up of 26 members, 10 representing state agencies, 16 from that are made up of self advocates, parent advocates. So yeah, we work with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And we've been very excited recently about because there's some work that you all had been doing at the state level that the the federal government came in and kind of made some things happen on that front. And that is a rule change and the final rule says it advances equity and bolsters protections for people with disability.
Yes, we were incredibly excited about that.
Right. So tell me a little bit about what that means exactly.
Yeah, so Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. It is really all about non-discrimination for people with disabilities, setting out how the system provides supports and services. I really do have to right here give a shout out to Dave Mathis and David Allgood, the people at the Center for Accessible Living and the Coalition for the Rights of Parents with Disabilities. They have been talking about custody rights for a long time. And this rule change, federal action, does do a lot to help protect those custody rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's definitely a pop up in some champagne kind of moment, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it really is. It makes a lot of really positive changes. The work isn't done, of course, but it's a good step.
The work is never done, right?
No.
The work is never done. Tell me about the efforts that it has taken to get to this point and some of the things it will mean for people with disabilities.
Sure. So I can really speak to the efforts at the state level. And two major efforts we've been working on in the state for several years that got partially completed through this action. But one issue is discrimination against people with disabilities in the healthcare system. Specifically, we were talking about organ transplants. Two parents, one of whom was on the council for a while, Morgan Elliston, brought to me this idea that a doctor could deny an organ transplant to a parent, could deny an organ transplant to somebody with a disability based on their disability status. That's in many states, no longer in Kentucky. So House Bill 238 banned discrimination based on disability status in organ transplants. The doctor's perspective was that somebody with an intellectual disability wouldn't be able to do the upkeep that it takes to receive an organ transplant, which is just completely wrong because we all have people in our lives that help us. And to believe that somebody wouldn't be able to do life-saving upkeep is just wrong. And House Bill 238 kind of fixed that in Kentucky, while there still was a major loophole that this closed.
Right. I know for me personally, I saw lots of chatter in the disability community and was concerned myself that during COVID, when they started talking about ventilator shortages, that doctors could make, it's a terrible decision, a terrible position to put any medical professional in. But if they had to choose who gets a ventilator, the person with the disability, the doctor's own bias would come in that our lives were somehow less important, less full, that we were lesser human beings. And so we would always be the ones to not get that ventilator.
And that's actually how doctors were able to get around discrimination law. It's something called a value assessment method. So they would make a judgment that people with disabilities have less quality adjusted years left, basically meaning that they have a lower quality of life, which just isn't okay.
That's not okay. No, not okay.
What this rule change did was ban the discriminatory use of value assessment methods. So even though House Bill 238 from last year, 2023, protected people with disabilities from discrimination based on their disability status, doctors could still turn down an organ transplant because they would say, well, they have less quality of life, less quality of adjusted years left. This stops that.
Yeah, which is such a huge win, isn't it? I mean, It is such an amazing win. Also, at the same time, I mean, it's enraging that we were ever at that point, but I think we all knew that, but we don't like to think about it. But so this rule change to the Department of Health and Human Services makes that now they can't do that anymore. And also, I believe there's a part in the rule change also about making medical equipment accessible.
Yes, accessible medical equipment is something that a lot of places have, but not nearly enough. I mean, this is where I try to lean on the experiences of others because I don't, as a person without a disability, notice that as much as I should. But when I speak to people with physical, intellectual, mental, developmental disabilities, this is something that they struggle with all the time.
Really?
So, and this would, the good thing about this rule is that it applies to any place that takes federal funds. So in this case, that applies to in most doctors' offices, hospitals, any place that takes Medicaid, Medicare, Medicare Part B. Most, if not all, state agencies are now required to have this within 2 years of the effective date, which was last month.
Oh, the effective date was last month. I was going to ask you about that. So the change has happened, correct?
I apologize. Sorry, the published date was in May. The effective date would be early July.
Right, 60 days after that. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, but we're close. We're close. But yeah, it's a done deal. We just got to wait for the appropriate time. So, I wonder if that means. What does that mean, do you think, for medical offices? Like I listened to a lot of disability podcasts, and one person who uses a power chair said that she had not been weighed at a doctor's office in over 20 years because there was just the doctor's offices that she went to did not have the ability to do that.
We really need to talk to lawmakers to make sure that they understand the benefit that this will have. Because with federal regulations, the fear is that a court or an attorney general will block it.
I think there's hope if you look back over our history as a disabled movement, and that we were told elevators in all buildings, wheelchair ramps, pretty much everything we've been told it's asking too much. So we've always been told that we're asking for too much, but we just keep demanding and disrupting. That's just what we do.
I love that. And that's almost always, it seems like, what is necessary.
Okay, so Justin, tell me how this rule, what exactly it does to ensure the rights of parents with disabilities.
So by applying to any place that takes federal funds, including child welfare agencies, like in Kentucky and many other states, your parental rights can be taken away based on your disability status. You don't have to demonstrate an inability to parent. The state statute, Kentucky statute, it says that disability status alone is enough to be a basis for termination of parental rights. That it's inexcusable.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is.
Exactly. Like in this case, it really is important that people with disabilities are at least viewed as people without disabilities. We're all people. It's just not okay. And what this would do would prohibit exclusion of individuals with disabilities in the child welfare system and prohibit discrimination based on, and this is really important, speculation or stereotypes or even generalizations about whether parents with disabilities can safely parent. And that's the huge thing. It's stereotypes, generalizations. One of our council members told me a story from her local community where police officers walking down the street saw inside a window a child on the couch and then just a man in a wheelchair in there, and was concerned for the health and safety of the child. Without the court case showed that there was nothing wrong. Like all his case said that, like, well, should she have just shouldn't there have been somebody else taking care of her? And like that kind of harmful, like just terrible stereotype is what this is trying to fix.
Yeah, and it will fix that, right? It will. I mean, I'm sure there will have to be some education of agencies and stuff, but it will mean that no longer do parents with disabilities have to worry that their children will be taken away.
And one thing that it is great that this does, it prohibits the use of IQ alone as the basis for a parenting evaluation. The fact that that is still something people, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in Kentucky, I believe they did pass. There was some sort of law that a child cannot be taken away on the basis simply of physical disability, but they did not extend that to intellectual and developmental disability. Am I correct on that?
That's correct. There was a bill this session to try to change that as well. House Bill 183. It would have protected the custody rights of parents with intellectual and or developmental disabilities as well, including psychiatric disabilities. This would have been very helpful. And it does not, the bill on the state level did not apply to things like divorce cases, which is probably the most common case we see. But you can definitely make the argument that this federal regulation would apply to that because it does apply to the justice system as a whole. It specifically talks about the custody decisions. You can't base custody decisions based on a disability status. And that's one of the greatest things about this specific section of the regulation.
And I know there was talk in the law about web accessibility for people with disabilities. I take it to mean that I will not be encountering any more inaccessible websites. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed on that, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah, actually, this is even this part is even better than this regulation would indicate because it combines with another regulation that came out at the same time. There's a rule change to Title II of the ADA, which requires all state and local governments comply with that specific section and the web accessibility standards. So it gives them several years to fold this in, but this will apply to every state and local government website. There are exceptions for archived web material and certain password protected pages. But if somebody with a disability could be accessing the material, it needs to be accessible.
Awesome. That is awesome. So that would be mainly state or state and local government and federal government, but not necessarily private industry kind of thing.
Well, again, if the entity takes any federal funds, they have to comply. So that would also include most Medicaid, Medicare providers. So even broader than state and local government.
Awesome. Again, I'm excited. I'm very excited. So, Justin, is there anything else we need to know about this rule change? And I will link to the HHS press release in our website, and that's got some great information on it. People want to check out more about that. And if anybody has any questions, they can certainly send an email to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com, and I will pass those on to Justin. So, Justin, in closing, can you tell me, is there anything else that we haven't covered that we need to cover about this law? And then also maybe what do we go from here? Like we said, there's always a next fight. So what's next?
Well, a couple last bits with the Section 504. It really kind of sets in movement the least restrictive environment and requires the most integrated setting for services. It permits mobility. It requires like doctor's offices to permit mobility devices, accessible surroundings, requires communication aids for people with visual, hearing, or speaking impairments. It really does a lot about anti-discrimination in so many areas and also about accessibility in so many areas. But you asked what's next?
Yes, what's next?
Well, the thing I'm going to be focused on now is making sure that officials in state and federal government understand that these are very helpful and that like it does so much good to so many people. And in fact, 33% of the citizens of Kentucky have a disability. So this affects a lot of people in Kentucky, people that vote. So we're trying to make sure that people understand how good this is.
We want to extend our thanks to you and to all the people who have been working on this issue for a long time. So, Justin Jeter, thank you so much for joining me. If you like the podcast, remember to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you really like the podcast, we'd love it if you could leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. That helps more people to find us. If you really, really like the podcast, then please tell someone about it, either in person or send them an email or just share the link on social media. Thank you all. Every bit helps, and it makes a huge difference for us. If you'd like a transcript, please send us an email to demandanddisrupt@gmail.com and put transcript in the subject line. Thanks to Chris Unkin for our theme music. Demand and Disrupt is a publication of the Advocado Press with generous support from the Center for Accessible Living located in Louisville, Kentucky. And you can find links to buy the book, A Celebration of Family, Stories of Parents with Disabilities, in our show notes. Thanks, everyone.
You say you've seen a change in me. Just for once I think I would agree. We both know there's a difference. We've had our curtain call, and this time the writing's on the wall. War of words we can't defend. Two damaged hearts refuse to mend. This situation's pointless with each and every day. It's not a game we need to play. Try to make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out the need for us to open up our minds and hearts to change. Then what will be, will be. Disregard for good to set us free. There's just no way of knowing if love lives anymore. We'll turn out the light, then close the door. Try to make things better, repair and rearrange things, but each and every letter spells out the need for us to open up